All right. Welcome back, guys, to GPS Podcast, Guided Primal Sutra Podcast. Man, we had a very productive weekend, didn't we, Ryan G?
It was interesting. I'll say that much. I'll say that much. But before we start, quick disclaimer, don't be an idiot, as what we will be explaining on this free podcast is on the occult slash, pragmatic magic side. We will not be
Esoterics,
going
yeah.
esoterics. We will not be going in depth on who it was, other than these are adepts of Primal Sutra. Two, we might talk a bit about the packaging we do just for marketing purposes, of course. We will not be going into the exact details as, for obvious reasons, certain
Yeah, you got to join
private
the mystery
things.
school for that,
Well,
unfortunately, yeah.
but also certain private things has been spoken about, so we're not going to bring it
Oh,
up.
yeah. Yeah, confidentiality, of course, yeah.
Confidentiality is important here because, bucking, comes with the territory. That being said, what is an entity clearing? Doesn't invest entity clearing. Imagine the possessions you see in horror movies, etc. A spirit possesses the body and it basically becomes exorcism of some kind. Now that's the most obvious one. Other forms of this would be where they start to hide in the body, in parts of the soul and parts of the energy, maybe even parts of the aura, Markaba, whatever. And it's up to the medicine man, woman, etc., to find out what's going on and should he or she find out that this is a case of an entity, spirit possession, if you want to name it as such, that's the time to act.
I actually just got a new book that's coming this weekend on clearing entities. So this
Mm,
is a good topic
good topic
that
indeed.
aligns. Well, I think entity clearing is not just removing something outside, but actually training your nervous system and psyche and energy field to stop broadcasting open ports or open trauma loops.
Hmm.
Um, and whatever you use, you can use humor and laughter like we did in one session. We can use
Yeah,
somatic release in some sessions.
yeah,
Um, but it's all to reinforce that you are a sovereign being and that no
yes.
other being has the right to, attack you or siphon your energy without your consent. So that's the main
Mm,
principle of energy clearing. Yeah.
interesting, interesting. Anything that is not uniquely your own, that stands in the way between you and your own ownership of self, sovereignty, can be something good.
Yeah, it's about certainty, not aggression with these beings. Like, if you speak in certainty, some of these beings will just freak out and just leave because they thrive where your inner authority is weak, basically. These
I can see
beings,
that. I can see that.
like
If you
frame
feel like
control is
it, you
more
can
powerful
use
than
me as
force.
as a quick guinea pig for that. But we can
Sure.
do that towards the end.
Okay.
So, part of the Primal Sutra Adepts packaging, if you want to, of course, you pay a monthly fee of 99. Uh, with that comes three, 1 to 1.5 hours, 2-on-1 sessions where we handle blocks, go maybe in depth into your spiritual team, totems maybe, definitely a spiritual path, spiritual team, and if you're interested, your main chakra path. And although that's not necessarily the topic of today, during last weekend and the week before, we did have two students that came with
Mm,
some challenges. One was
yeah.
way more difficult than the other. With one, we only had to laugh once we figured out what this entity represented, what kind of blocks this entity, this energy, whatever caused, and just by
Yeah.
pure logic, if something is, let's say, self-sabotaging, anything that is opposite of the self-sabotage, like self-talk, self-appreciation, etc., directly becomes the medicine or the antidote towards that type of energy
Mm.
in easy cases. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're depressed, you have something, but usually if you're in a negative spiral, you tend to attract such things. Just anywhere where
Right.
you have weakness of authority within yourself, Samba, these things tend to happen
Yeah, so we have to really choose wisely before we descend into the underworld, right?
naturally.
Because we can pick up a lot of attachments along the way. And another perspective actually that I found recently is that addictions are actually entity attachments. And if you
Interesting.
treat them as such, they can actually really help an individual to release it. I think the big issue with society, Ryan, is like everybody's just like, just take a pill, that'll solve it. But what if it's an entity, and it's not been introduced into the scientific system yet, right? And so we can't look for it. If we're saying it's not there, right? I mean, denial is going to make the entity possession worse,
Right,
right?
because you're actively feeling it. You're
You're
actively
numbing it
ignoring it.
almost in a sense. You're ignoring it on purpose. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, that's a big issue, I think, for practitioners of this art form.
Mm.
But also, I think, yeah, just changing the culture by being an embodied, you know, activator in a sense of
What
this
does that mean
of
to
this
you?
flow state. I mean, like really putting an emphasis on embodying a lighter, uh, heart-spaced vibe about you, where you're not just in it for a cold, calculated buck, right? It's the character that comes into play once again, and
Mm.
we keep talking about this.
I do like the idea of being cold and calculated, though, even as a human being, because just less.
It has its right time for that,
There's
right?
a right time and
Uh,
place for
yeah,
everything, indeed.
right.
But the situations like these, where let's say entities like these tend to feed off of these emotions, because that's how they catch you. Anywhere you're weak, they're going to try to exploit and profit from.
Right.
And we're trying to minimize the damage and, if possible, completely remove it, which we tend to be successful in. Anything
Yeah.
I can say about the difference between the two healing sessions was one was significantly easier than the other because the latter one just had a thematic opposition towards the adept's ownership, sovereignty, whereas the other was, dare I say, an entity that would hop from one person to the next. Anyone
Yeah.
that had these, I wouldn't necessarily say vile, but definitely very heavy negative emotions,
Yeah.
that it would be transferred from one jealous person to the next and vice versa, etc. And it will just start garnering more power over time. In some cases, we destroy it. In some cases, we repel it, depending on what's possible within the time frame.
Right.
And I think we, at minimum, did major damage to both entities.
Because we activated both of our guides. So yeah, we pretty much
Uh,
obliterated both of those energies. So yeah.
yes, yes. So
One
imagine,
practical advice,
hmm?
well, one practical advice I can give to the audience is try and see if you can always take the energy and say, anything that is not of source, leave now.
Hmm.
Like that's just such a quick way for you to use. just a quick statement with such clarity and conviction that that becomes your container, that becomes your protection. So, Ryan G, let's go through a way that we can unlock an emotion or an entity clearing, like for you, let's say. Um,
Okay, then we
so
start for the fundamentals. Yes, I give you permission to do what you need to do. Right.
okay,
Right? Always consent. Then you, as the medicine man or woman, do your thing.
yeah. So just think about an emotional issue, Ryan, that has been kind of bothering you for days now, and just go into the core of that. Yeah, focus on your awareness. It could be a memory, a thought, or a sensation in the body. Sit with that for a while and just allow the stuck sensation to unravel, kind of uncoil all by itself. Ask yourself who sees it that way and who's experiencing this emotion. Mm. Is there any conclusion about yourself that you're getting, Ryan? I am this, I am blank, just any example of the thought, like I am feeling weak, I am feeling numb, whatever it is.
These affirmations tend to relate to self-talk. Self-talk is always related to the throat chakra, and that's exactly where I feel it. Very sharply,
Got it. Got it.
very sharply felt, man.
So what is the statement? Is it I am weak? Is it I'm locked? What
Mostly,
what what
mostly a comment about competency. In
okay.
short, I am idiot.
Okay. I am idiot. So take that statement, right? Give it a symbol or something, and then see if you can blow it up like a balloon, like to its fullest expansion. I am idiot. Now take it to a ridiculous kind of cartoonish level. Now pop it into nothingness, the balloon.
Ah,
There you go. So what you did, Ryan, you just provided it a context to release, right? You paid attention to the thought and then you blew it up like a balloon until it popped.
interesting.
All right, so that's one way of clearing. I mean, there's so many different styles of this, but
But
I'm
this
just
is the
showing you
one
a
we were
particular one.
allowed to show on a
Yeah, as a
social live stream.
demonstration. Yeah, yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
I have been feeling like pressure on my throat for a while. And I've been trying to
Hmm.
figure out, okay, in due time it will be fixed, but let's try to figure out whether it's a diet thing or whatever. And now what I'm
Yeah.
feeling is instead of pressure, it's mostly like a vacuum. It's
Mm.
kind of hard to explain. It's kind of like instead of this going out, it's now being pressed in. Like
Right,
something
so
is,
now you need to actually decide to pay attention to the self-image you would want to prefer. So what are you replacing I am idiot with?
yes. Well, everybody's straightforward. I am competent.
Mm,
That is the most
brilliant.
straightforward thing I can come up with. Yes.
Very cool. Awesome, man. So yeah, do you have any final questions, or I think we're wrapping up soon, or how much time do we have?
We have 3, 4, 5 minutes.
Okay, cool.
What is the difference between a simple entity clearing compared to a more advanced entity clearing?
I think it comes down to like for an advanced one,
Hmm.
even when you clear it at its root, there's still like a remnant left behind almost in a sense. So there's it just takes longer for a more advanced clearing because there's so many layers you have to unravel in the
Right,
psyche.
like an onion.
Whereas Yeah, whereas a quick one, you know, it's like related to, when you were 6, this happened, and then you can clear it
Right.
even by a flick of the wrist, right? So it's like it's really
Right.
dependent on the complexity of the case. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if I
Yeah.
compare both healing sessions, one was significantly easier, as I said before, and looking at it from a healer's perspective, I remember just my energy draining.
Yeah.
Why did our energy just dip with that specific
Well, this was a
clearing?
particularly a lower astral being, so they tend
Mm,
to be a lot more heavier. Like their
mm,
density is a lot heavier, so you can definitely feel that they're not of this realm. They love this realm. In fact, they
mm,
they want to feel like humans do, and have sensations and all these things.
mm,
So they try to attach to people to kind of give themselves a taste of the earthly realm in a sense. So that's how these attachments happen. So what we
mm.
understood is it was the root cause was, I think, greed, or it was creating some memory loop of greed. And so we could then pinpoint that and kind of work through it in a really
Interesting.
effective way. Yeah.
Interesting. So, what are we allowed to say about this clearing? Which is not necessarily an entity clearing, but it's more an energetic clearing.
Yeah. Um, well, I don't know if we can go into the mechanics of it, but I will say that one of the things that we found out is that it affects the 5 bodies differently for
Mm,
everybody. Right? So for someone, it might be an emotional block. For someone else, it's a spiritual block.
right. And when I hear spiritual, I'm immediately thinking of, anything of
Entities.
possession and,
Yeah.
for me, it gets exciting. For the to be healed, that's not necessarily the best of news.
Right. Well,
Mm,
what's interesting too, Ryan, is like, there's sometimes memory fragments and it's not even an entity, right? So it could be just like a loop in the mind that's
mm,
showing up as a thought form or something like this. And we have to differentiate from those and actual beings,
right.
right? Um, but yeah, there's so many different cultures, and different cultures see entities very differently, but they
Hmm.
all kind of have the similar thread. They're these kind of non-corporeal beings. So they're not physical, right? They're metaphysical beings.
Yes. There
Yeah.
is some truth to the way you see an energy is the way you treat it, and the way you treat it is the way it will treat you.
Yeah.
If you treat a dog well, it tends to treat you well. So mind you tends to. Um,
Right.
show respect tends to get respect. So that's all I have to say on that part. Um, that being said, always be vigilant in the self-care department. Ground when possible. One of
Definitely.
the clients, what I noticed was because of all these loops, I realized there's a lot of mental things going on, a lot of mental tabs still open, and he could easily resolve that, at least on an energetic level, to just going into nature, feeling the ground and just chilling for 20 minutes a week at minimum. Just fucking put on some nice music, smoke a joint, just chill and just enjoy nature
Yeah.
for what nature is.
Well,
Or go
some of these
surf
beings
one.
also avoid humans, which is very interesting. Um, Of course, a lot of them just can be expelled by command, since humans are inherently more powerful because they have a body and a spirit. That's why these
Mm,
spirits listen to humans, right? Um, but yeah, they're conscious, independent beings, and they're within
mm,
their own realms.
yeah.
So that's how we treat them.
Mm,
And the problem isn't demons, it's the denial of these beings. It's the denial. I really think the denial causes more of a repression, and it starts causing even more problems for an individual. Because in
Yeah,
modern medicine, you're just going to treat it with something so quick. It's not going to
yeah,
go into this process.
yeah, yeah. Some medicine tends to merely suppress instead of heal, but suppression isn't healing the root cause, it's merely suppressing the symptoms. I'm not
Yeah.
interested in that. I want to have the pain handled, the whatever causes the pain. And it is significantly more valuable towards the client, towards me, towards his or her family and society to have it done this way. And that is my professional opinion.
Right.
Anyway, we're heading towards the final 2 minutes. Anything you want to say, Sumit?
Yeah, well, I found it quite interesting to use a different cultural approach for a clearing before I slept. I shared it with you, Ryan, with the cleaning out of the mouth and the nose
Yeah,
and
yeah.
so forth. So basically, I think that that was a new experience for me at least, and I honestly think nowadays I'm more aware that I as a healer absorb uh burdens or these energies from people that I serve, and
Mm-hmm.
I really need to create a proper framework and visualization and mantras beforehand and
Mm,
afterwards, like an aftercare, to really prevent this from happening. And I'm also starting to do it at my work.
good,
So,
good,
yeah,
good.
very good.
From my end, spiritual hygiene is a priority. You have to clean yourself,
Definitely.
clean your environment, clean your car. The people you work with, I recommend somehow you make them clean. I don't know, figure it out. And, you know, one of the things that we will be doing this year is heading to Sedona, not just for the upgrades, but also for, in some way, rest through adventure, I suppose, to revitalize the
Yeah.
spirit. Going on
Yeah,
road trips, I'm looking forward.
we're going to be doing some grid work over there. So grid work is basically work with the ley line energies.
Mm,
So we're going to the specific ley line there, and we are going to, yeah, do a lot of energetic shifts so that we can uh adjust those energies with our beingness. So that's
yes.
why we go to these events, because they're always great for character upgrades and
Mm-hmm,
just actualization of the self.
mm-hmm,
So yeah, we'd love to have you over there with us. And if you're interested, go to primalsutramysteryschool.com and then click on
mm,
the student immersion. You can see our past events and so forth.
exactly,
All right,
exactly.
guys.
That being said, this has been GPS Guide to Primal Sutra. I wish you the very best. This has been Ryan G with Sumit Chatterjee, the co-host and co-owner
Let's
of Primal
go.
Sutra, and may life never be the same.
Oh, peace out, guys.